How are they not going? Sydney, how's the weather in Phoenix?
Strange. Natalie Lozano, as in Natalie Lozano from Phoenix.
Anya, I'm jealous of your very sunny Seattle. I'm in a very gloomy Buenos Aires.
So sorry, I saw the name pop on, and if it's the Natalie Lozano that I used to work with, so it's exciting.
Oh no, don't worry. I don't think she can quite hear you yet because I'm pretty sure if you're connecting to audio, you can't hear.
Seattle's sunny. It's a miracle. I've spent a lot of time in Seattle, and it never was sunny. But that's okay because it is beautiful.
My favorite thing about Seattle is Grey's Anatomy. So, although it's probably a bad rep for Seattle, to be honest.
So bad. I have no time to watch TV because I have kids and things.
No, actually, it's funny. That's what I binge watched when I was pregnant. I would watch like Grey's Anatomy like crazy.
Would you? Maybe I'll have to do it when, with all this copious free time that we all have
Yeah.
as working moms, working parents, I shall say.
I see we have some more people joining. Hello. So happy you're here.
Early joiners, I love it.
I'm so excited. Okay, so I'm going to start sharing my screen briefly, and then we will get kicked off in about just another minute or so. And then, to everyone who's on the call already, and I'm going to repeat this, this is about you. So if at any time you have a question or you want to, ask anything, we do have pre-submitted questions that we'll be going over, but, feel free to submit your question or come off of mute, which is even better because this is about you. Selfishly, I wanted to host this because I was really excited about it, but it is about you, and I really would love for everyone to get as involved as possible. And I bet Sydney would as well.
Hopefully I don't. Hopefully this will be helpful for all. We shall see. Hi, Emily.
All right, so I'm going to give us just another minute, and then I will hit record, and then we will get started.
Nicole, I'm just going to go off really quick. I need to run and do something. Is that okay?
Oh, yeah. No worries.
Everybody that's on the call, I've got a senior dog that's 14, and he is amazing, but a lot of care. So I have to go check on him really quick because he's making noises.
No problem.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Not a problem. All right, so I see we have Columbus, Ohio in the house. We got sunny Seattle, Austin, Dallas, Fort Worth, Buenos Aires, Argentina, Las Vegas. Where else is everyone calling in from? I love getting to see like where people get to come in from when we have international people, or just like getting to see all the different states and cities. Miami, awesome. University of Florida in Gainesville, cool. Arun from India, hello. South Carolina. Natalie from AZ, awesome. I love it. Bradenton, Florida, USA, fantastic. So happy to have you all here. And in case this is your first Chat and Learn, before we get started, University of California, Irvine, cool. Orlando, I'm loving all the Florida representation. We have tons of chats, and actually this week for Pride Week, we've got 2 different chats about the trans community. We've got one allyship in the trans community, and then we also have one speaking with an LGBT plus educator, and so she wrote a book, and she's going to be coming to talk to us. So we've got a few really good chats over the next couple of weeks. Raleigh, North Carolina, awesome. I love getting to see where we have people calling in from. And is this your first chat, or have you been on a few? I know I've seen some familiar faces. It's always exciting. I don't know if you're getting tired of seeing me yet, but I never get tired of seeing your names pop back up for the return people. It's really awesome to get to see you come back. And, you know, first chat with Power to Fly. Yes, Hakeem, Sydney, you brought Hakeem here. So thank you for coming. All right.
Hello,
And so
Miami. Look at all this.
first chat.
Natalie Lozano. Is this the Natalie Lozano that I used to work with? This is amazing. I can't even.
All right. Awesome. So with
everyone.
that, Sydney, are you all good?
I guess the best I'm gonna be.
Perfect.
God,
Perfect.
it is Natalie.
Perfect. So I'm just gonna hit record and then we'll get started. So hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining today. Whether it's your first, like I see some people dropping in the chat, or it's your 50th. I'm so excited to have you here to be a part of this conversation. I'm selfishly really excited for this conversation. So thank you again for spending your day with us and or part of your day and joining us on this conversation about negotiation. Just some quick housekeeping rules, before we get started. Turn your cameras on, come off of mute. We really love participation and engagement, and this is about you. So if you feel comfortable, it's always nice to see a friendly face going through all this. It's hard to be just connected on the computer. And so if at any point you feel like asking a question, feel free to come off of mute, or you can always write in the chat any questions or comments you might have. And if at any point you don't feel comfortable writing to the whole group, you can always write to me anonymously by hitting the drop-down menu in the chat box and typing Nicole Felter, and you'll find me. And this is being recorded, so no need to take a bunch of notes. We want you to be engaged and participating, so you will be able to reference this right after. And so with that, we can get right into the intros. So I am so excited to be joined by Sidney Miller, who is a talent acquisitions lead at Packet. And she has such an interesting history and background. And so I'm going to hand it off to her.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming. This is going to be fun. I have no script. This is going to be as human as possible because it should be. I'm not big into making sure we're all robotic because I deal with human beings. I don't deal with pieces of paper. So ask questions. I will do the best that I can to answer based on what I've seen, what I've heard, and what I know. I'm sure that you've had an opportunity to check me out on LinkedIn. I've done a lot of really cool things. I really have. I've been in such a great position to do that, but I see that as an opportunity to help those who have compressed voices. I really do. I am a born disruptor. Anyone who knows me, Natalie Lozano for sure can attest to that. She's worked with me in the past. And I really use my position and my voice to help those who cannot have a voice in any of this process, mostly underrepresented minorities and females in tech. So that's my passion. The reason why I have that is because I've been in so many conversations, and as well as myself been in ugly situations at companies where you're silenced. You've been invited to the table but don't have a plate of food to eat or a voice at the table, right? So I'm going to give you everything I can to help you be successful in negotiations and finding the confidence to do that, because it really is about building the confidence and letting you know what you can ask and what you can't. So I'll do my best for all y'all.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that introduction. And, I just want to say that it's really important work now more than ever, using your point of privilege and your position to help lift up those minority voices. So thank you for doing that whenever you can. And thank you everyone for joining, because I think we have so much to learn from Sydney. Perfect. And so without, further ado, I also want to mention that Packet is hiring, and we will get to that at the end. Sydney will cover some of the open positions and talk about why she loves Packet. But in the meantime, I'm going to drop Packet's link on here so you can go follow their page on PowerToFly and get updates about open jobs and, when they have upcoming events. So I'll drop that in the chat. And with that, we have some of the questions that were submitted. And again, if there's a question that you really want to ask, don't hold your breath, don't hold your tongue, write it in the chat, come off of mute. This is a safe space, and we want you to feel as empowered as possible to ask your questions and get them your answers for those questions. And so with that, most companies require you to enter your requested compensation when applying. How would you recommend dealing with this? What number should you put when you don't want to be too low, but also not weed it out because it's too high?
$1. You can put anything you want in there to get by that field. In most states, and depending on where the company is headquartered, they should not have that because that is a barrier to entry. If you can get around that, I would do that. But put something in there and then make it explainable. I throw caution around that because I don't naturally like salaries to be disclosed because that does compartmentalize you into a scenario. But I'll give you things to combat that, unless right now is the right time.
However you want to tackle that. I know we do have a couple of questions regarding, assessing your worth and all of that, but feel free to tackle that now if you want as well, getting into it.
So I'm going to pause on that just until I can get some more context behind it, and then I can, I could probably cover a lot with one answer.
Not a problem, not a problem. And we can go right to the next question. If anyone has a follow-up to this or anything, personally regarding this, feel free to write in the chat. And you can always write me or Sidney anonymously as well.
Or you can hit me up on LinkedIn.
Yes, and I will drop that in the chat. Yeah. And so actually going into that, how can you assess your worth to know how much of a raise you should be asking for, or, in respect to the first question, to know how much you should be putting when this question comes up?
So first of all, it's illegal to ask what your current compensation is. I know as of July 2019, 18 states have adopted this, and it's for equal pay raise and equal pay, correct? So I think the best way for you to ask for this is to find out what the bands of the role that you are leveled at. And that's a fair question that any talent acquisition company or team should be able to answer for you based on level.
Perfect. So I kind of was always under the impression that companies couldn't share what they're compensating for certain roles, but they can, is what you're telling me.
Yes. So that is covered in the Equal Pay Act. So you must disclose if asked, if you fall into an Equal Pay Act covered state, that it is disclosable.
Wow. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. I had no idea.
Yeah. And then you just have to make sure that the state that you're in or the state that the company's in is part of that. But you can also ask that. There is no reason why you cannot, which is one of those confidence questions. How much is the level paying at a mid or low, medium, and high? It's a very fair question. And I get it all the time.
And so, following up on that, Sidney, and diving into that a little bit deeper, I find, and I'm sure other people on the line do, that I feel really uncomfortable asking employers certain questions. Like, I know I have this feeling of like walking on eggshells because maybe you're in a position where you're like, I really need a job. So is it really up to me to debate and, probe them a lot? Will they just go to the next candidate? And I think especially as a woman, that's how I feel. And so...
But your male counterparts are doing it. So why can't we? Right? That's the difference. We have been taught from a very young age that we have to be 100% perfect, be seen, not heard, all of those things. Out the window, people, because your male counterparts in the thousands of offers that I have written are asking these things. So level the playing field.
Yes, you're so right.
It's true. I mean, I see it every day.
Thank you. And it's so important to advocate for yourself, although it can be really difficult. I know that we're going to dive into that, but Mickey wrote in the chat and said that in many states, they cannot request current salary, but can ask desired salary. This helps to understand if the candidate is in the right range for the role that they are applying.
Right. So you can also ask, without disclosing, well, what is the pay band for the level you are considering me? And then don't talk yourself out of it, which is another thing that we do. Because I need this and I need to ensure this, and then you're telling everybody your hot buttons if they want to negotiate down, which on my desk and in my team, that doesn't happen, because there is no negotiating down for budget as long as it's fair and equitable within the band.
And I have a question about that, and I honestly can't remember if we get into this, but can you ask employers, like, is there a way to find out if they're paying their male counterparts a higher salary than their female counterparts?
No, you can't. However, you can always rely back. What is the pay band for the level you are considering me? And not only is that important for a salary, but remember review time. What are you walking into? What is it that you will be reviewed upon? And does that fit? Because how many times has anyone been in a situation where you've been compressed down into a lower level because you have, well, you're not quite strong here, but what we're going to do is we're going to bring you down and then we're going to train you up. And then here you are a year later, for whatever reason, you're still in the same level and have not received a pay increase, have not received a title increase. You haven't, you're stuck because of all the other things. So if you ask what the level is and what the requirements are, which again, these are confidence questions. Again, you can ask them. Your male counterparts, savvy other folks in all of these conversations are asking them. So it's fair game. So I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, I think so. And we have some comments coming in, and
Nikki,
I love
yes.
that
Nikki, yes. Yeah, you can just turn that right around and say, well, what is the pay band and what is the level that you would be considering?
Yes, and agreeing with the putting the $1 or the $0. And I'm shaking my head here, and I'm sure tons of people on the line are also shaking their heads. Christina S. said, one of the jobs I had applied for asked my salary requirements, so I put the average salary for that position role. Later, I received an automated rejection email, which said my salary requirement were too high. I might try the $1 to see if that makes a difference for a different company. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Well, and first of all, that's probably a company you don't want to work with if they're conflicting with you for your salary band without even talking to you first. So you have to look at that as well. How is this company treating you? Because that's a great indication within the offer process if they're going to treat you the same way or worse as you're there. It's fair, right? We're talking about a lot of different companies, so I got to find the common medium. Like, obviously I work at a company because I love it and I get to be myself and I'm heard, right? And then there's others that are just very large organizations that are more about maintaining and not about innovation. So it just depends. If you want to work in certain areas, you got to understand what you're up against. I'm really sorry that happened to you, Christina. I'm sorry. That doesn't feel good to me at all.
Thank you, Sydney. And thank you everyone for writing in the chat. And
Yeah.
I think you had answered this, but I just want to read the question out loud in case people are listening to the recording. So when you're asked, what is your expected salary, that you don't answer, but instead ask them what their pay bands are.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
And if they can't answer that, that's also another indication of what's happening in the organization. And why are they holding that close to their chest? And if they say, I can't disclose that, you can ask why. And then they've got to come up with a reason. And if it's because legally in the state of Indiana, we do not disclose pay bands. Okay, well, then that's fair. But at least you asked, right?
Okay, thank you
You're
so
welcome,
much.
Christina.
And then I had a question come in that asked, what can potential employers find out on their own about a candidate's salary history? Not what they can estimate based on level and company and location, but can they actually access info, say from the background check or the credit check?
I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole myself. That does not sound like it's a legal thing to do. I mean, if there's any lawyers on the line, they could probably jump in, but that is not a standard business practice in talent acquisition.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much. And then I had another question that came in. What if you're in a situation where you think your male counterparts are making more than you do for doing the same job?
That is the recruiters and the talent acquisition's responsibility to ensure that there is a fair wage. And you can ask that. Is this in the band within the level that you are considering me for? I mean, it's literally that simple. Just keep pushing it back. And so if they are a fair and equitable company, which they should be, they should be able to, you should be in that realm. You cannot ask, you know, where's the pay grade for the male next to me? You can ask how many females are in the same level, or how much inclusion or diversity are within the levels in this org, in this band.
Perfect. And then Allison said, it's so hard to find the confidence to respond to interviewers in an assertive way when this comes up during the interview process. I think we actually have a question about this, but I don't know if you want to say anything here, Sidney, about, you know, maybe trying to find your voice and how you've been able to do it and help others find their voice.
Honestly, it's through conversation and giving individuals the ability to be heard on what their sticking points are. Why can't you? What is it that's happened to you that made you not want to advocate for yourself? Right? Because somewhere along the line, someone stole the voice or didn't give you the opportunity to use it. So if you can identify back to what those situations where you feel, that didn't feel good, use that to fuel your conversation. Recruiters and talent acquisition specialists are ready for this. And if they're not, they should be. And you can call me anytime and I will help you. Literally.
I think I need a dose of you every morning. My gosh. You're fantastic.
I don't know if you want that, really.
And then Mickey mentioned something which is really important, that these salary disparities are also happening at the time of internal promotions and raises. And so, you know, on that same track, I had a follow-up question for this. Mm-hmm. Is there a way, if somebody doesn't feel maybe comfortable talking about this, but is there a way to ask the interviewees or, you know, talent acquisition about this without asking about raises, right? Like saying, are there equal opportunities for advancement? How do you value advancement? So I guess my question is there a way to get around asking about raises by asking about career advancement? Does that make sense?
There should be a clear career trajectory for you before you enter the door. And if there's not, ask for one. Because if you're just happy to be there, and okay, here's my first day, I have no idea what I'm supposed to do, and I have no idea what I'm meant to do, and I have no idea what I'm supposed to review against, how does that make you successful? It doesn't. So I always, as a personal mission, I ensure that I talk to people about, this is what's going to happen. This is when our review situation happens. I want you to ask the manager about the brass tacks, about what is going to be expected of you in this role as you interview. Because not only that, it opens up all these amazing pathways to learn more about you as an engineer, a person, a human, technical, whomever it is that you are and what you represent. Those conversations need to be had. Because how many times have you gotten into an org and you're like, well, this isn't what I need, and I'm 3 levels below what I was, and now I'm stuck, right? So these are really important questions to ask that, again, are a standard business practice with most, from what I have seen on my experience over the last 21 years, comes up all the time with men. Well, how do I know I'm going to be in a position where I can, you know, get raises, or how is that done? How is that done? And what are the thresholds? And, you know, you can ask those questions. They may not be able to disclose it, but you can still ask. The problem is asking. All there can be is a yes or a no. Or sorry, I can't disclose that, but at least you asked. What if they say yes? And they're like, oh, by the way, yes, we can do this, that, and the other thing. That's what I've seen. I have a lot more people asking questions. And if I can't answer them, I can't. Legally, logistically, I don't know, because I don't know everything. And thank you to Mickey for that, for the TA compliance, because again, I'm not omniscient. I don't know everything. So, I mean, and that's another thing too. You have to know what your limits are. I know from my experience that people are asking these things. So if it's compliant, I'll give him everything. If it's not compliant or not legal, I won't. But I also leverage my HR business partner to make sure that this question was asked. Is this something that we can talk about? Perhaps that's not the recruiter or the talent acquisition person that you deal with, which is another hour.
And I don't know when we got so scared of asking these questions. I know I find myself in that position too, and other people on the line. So I don't know why we're so scared. It's either a yes or a no, you know, in every situation nearly.
Because historically, we are not the ones that are asking those questions. We are the ones that are supporting those that are asking those questions. We are not in the leadership positions that we're supposed to be. We are not given the plate of food and the voice at the table. We're put at the end with the rest of, you know, the other non-strong, loudest ducks, where the rest of the conversation's happening over here, and we're just like, hey, this is awesome. You know, raise your hand if you've been in that situation. I can't see you raising your hands, but I'm guessing there's probably, thank you, Natalie, I can see you. There's probably at least 60 to 70% of us that have been invited and did not get a seat at the table, or got a seat at the table, but it was like, oh yeah, but you were talked over, your ideas were taken, you know, like, but that's okay. And then there's the fear of, oh, the strong woman, or angry Sidney, or, you know, she's too passionate, you're too emotional. That's an HR problem, not a talent acquisition problem. So you need to interview the teams and really get close to who the humans are and see if you're going to have those opportunities to eat and speak at the table in the org.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And we have we have some more questions coming in the chat.
Sure.
So for the person who asked if they think they're in a situation where their male counterparts are making more than them doing the same job. So they said that they're in a position right now where they think they're making more, and the person who wrote in has even more, significantly more experience. How should they approach their hiring managers to bargain or negotiate?
I'm sorry, I need to read the question.
Oh, sorry, it came into me privately.
Oh, it did. Okay, I love private conversation. Can you repeat the question just so I can make sure I understand it?
Yeah, of course. So
Okay.
the first question was, what if you're in a situation where you think your male counterparts are making more than you for doing the same job? And then to add more context, they said, I'm in a position right now where I think my male counterparts are making more. I even have significantly more experience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's tough. That's a big conversation. And you just start the conversation. I can't give you a silver bullet on that, unfortunately. And I'm sure that there are some folks who are on this call that could render some more advice there. However, I will tell you that if you feel it's happening, go to your HR business partner and start that conversation. Yeah, it's a tough one, because legally you can't say, you know, what's going on here and da 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 da. You can say, I have a concern around equal pay, and I need to ensure that I have that. Can you help me? And see what happens. But then, you know, and no offense to any of my HR people on this call, but there are some people who don't trust that and feel like it could be used against, or I have heard that people are uncomfortable with this. I always rely on my HR business partner. And if you have concerns around that person not helping or hindering, then you can always go to, there's other ways for you to go. You can seek out other individuals on the team. You can go to the leader direct. But if you feel like you need to advocate, don't take no for an answer if you're very serious about it, and just learn, like, don't, you know, obviously bull in a china closet, being aggressive, passive, passionate, all the things we're labeled when we ask these questions. Just say, it's the right thing for me to ask. And all I can say is no. Don't ask. It starts a different conversation. And if the conversation is halted, but you started it, at least you know that you did what you could, and with the information that you had, you know?
And I mean, speaking personally, it would almost seem as a red flag if they aren't willing to hear you ask those questions and to discuss these things, right? Like maybe it's just somewhere you're not valued, and it unfortunately is just maybe time to find a new place.
How many
So thank you.
cogs are in the machine, right? Versus the impact for someone in an underrepresented category that should be heard and not compressed.
Definitely. Thank you so much for dropping these gems. We have a few more questions in the chat. This one came in privately as well, but is it okay to ask about parental leave when negotiating salary?
Absolutely. 1,000,000 times over. And yes, you should find out everything about the benefits in their first call. So, and I was just on a podcast recently, and I'm not worried about disclosing this, but I need an $1,800 prescription every month to keep myself alive. If it wasn't covered under my benefits, you bet, and I can't swear, I'm sorry, I swear sometimes, so apologies if it slipped out. Natalie's smiling. You bet I would be negotiating for that much more money because their benefits does not cover something that I need for standards of living. These are all fair comparisons. What I would urge every single person to do, what's the bonus structure? What's the RSU cliff? How does it pay out? What's the percentages? Send me your benefits deck and an 800 number that's covered under HIPAA, so I don't have to have these conversations with anyone that's in control of making sure I get hired or not. All very fair. I send it to every single person after my first conversation, and I say, here's the 800 number, call away. Make sure that you're covered here, you're covered here. What's this, what's that? Do we have elderly assistance care? Because not only do we have children that we care for, some of us, but now a lot of us are assuming the role of taking care of your parents. Some people and some companies do offer that. If you're in that situation and you're going from one company that has that benefits, ask if they do, if the new company has it, and if not, you're going to have to bring that up as a compensation change, because that is a big deal. They may work with you, I do. They may not, but you asked. Because how many times have you taken an offer not really knowing, just because you're like, I'm so excited, I've got a new job and I'm just happy to be here. And I need this job because I'm a single parent. And there's all these things that keep us from being just like those who have come before us and asked all those questions, right? How hard is it? How hard is it to advocate for yourself when there's so much riding on that one interview, that one offer? I'm telling you, it's okay to do these things. It's okay to advocate for yourself. There are people, there are good humans. There should be good humans in talent acquisition. All my talent acquisition people that are probably on this call right now can say, yes, I am part of that. And I think that as you work through and get to know the person who is helping you through this process, they are the curator of your experience. It's their job to make you comfortable. It's their job to listen to you. It's their job to make sure that your needs as somebody who might be entering your amazing organization has all those things to hit the ground running, regardless if it's compensation, parental leave, elderly care dependent. I have a vesting cycle soon. Can we push my start date? Is that a big deal? These are all negotiations. They're all negotiable. And if there's a company that says, sorry, I can't talk to you about parental leave, I'm sure, I hope it's Mickey Solomon. I'm compliance, like, sorry, I can't do that. Just ask the questions. And if they can't answer, then ask them why. And then you'll know.
I love this. Thank you. You're so helpful. I know we have some messages coming in, so I'm sorry. No, you are. I love it. And so I know we have some messages coming in, but I wanted to read Mickey's message out loud for everyone who may be on their phone, but I always encourage people to have honest conversations with their leaders about their career aspirations and have clear objectives set and agreed upon with their supervisor that they will be rated on every year so they can make sure they're working towards their goals. Additionally, having at a minimum quarterly review checkpoints with their leader so they always know where they are in meeting those objectives. So just a point of advice for everyone on the line. I
have a response, and I totally agree with this. However, there's so much slide. Who's been involved in the slide? Like, this is a perfect situation, and that sounds really great in theory, but the org is sliding on you, and there's all sorts of things happening. I mean, honestly, I want to see how many people know that this is actually the way it's supposed to work, but have had a different experience. I want to see it. I mean, raise hands, plus ones, whatever. I need to see. There's a hand.
Drop a 1 in the chat. Usually, drop a 1 in the chat if this has been your situation.
So in theory, that's a great concept. We are seeing that's not actually what happens in all of them, right? I hope that you have great leaders and great talent and great HRBPs that are totally bought in on this, okay? But there's so much fray. There's so much fray. So as long as you understand that there is fray and that this, I don't know, sorry. There was a question that came in, I'm like, squirrel, sorry. But, I think that's where conversation, finding your voice, being able to collaborate, asking people, peers, friends, me, Nicole, Mickey. I mean, honestly, we need to start a community of people that we can start to ask questions about. Because when you go in, you want to be crisp, because remember, we have to be perfect and we have to be 100% and we have to be all these things that most folks don't feel like they are, right? Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Sidney.
Yeah.
And then so Nikki asked a question. With more remote work happening and companies considering adjusting salaries based on your home location, do you have any great resources to calculate salary adjustments based on location or cost of living?
I'm not going to make very many friends here, but if anybody says, well, Radford states, I have a personal opinion about Radford. I think it's too dated, and I don't think that it takes engineering into consideration, especially at the startup level. Because if you're at a large organization, you're getting killed by offers with startups, especially the ones that are remote, because they'll pay San Francisco, New York prices in certain demographics unless they are in certain geographies. Sure, you need that, great. What else do you need, right? So in companies that are adjusted and probably larger than a 50-person startup, there's a lot more flex in that. There will be tiers based on location, because everyone knows San Francisco and New York money in Oklahoma would be gangster. It really would. It would be like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. Because cost of living is about, I think, the gradient, and please anybody jump in, because this is an active conversation. Remember, I don't know everything. The gradient, I think, is about 10% off. Tier 1 could be San Francisco, New York for sure. Seattle is an up and comer. Then it's 10% off that. So Portland it could be a tier 2. Denver, Austin, Texas sometimes is within level 2, but also could be slated for zone 3. It just depends on how the compensation team has set this up. Do I have any compensation people on the phone? Anyone? And it's fine, you can chirp in if you want, but the standard business practice is San Francisco, New York, just because cost of living, and then it's 10% off that based on tier. In theory. That answer that question? I know I keep asking that, but I want to make sure that I'm answering this.
No, I love it. I love your thoroughness. I think it did. If you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to drop those. And, of course, please feel free to come off of mute. I know we have tons of questions coming in the chat and comments. Like, this is all about you. I'm just here to make sure we don't get out of control, but I don't foresee that happening. So I think we're good.
Well, then why am I here? Because I'm always out of control. There was something from Naomi I want to talk about. What is this? I was taking care of my 104 and 106-year-old grandma for 2.5 years. Did not occur to me that I would need to know what benefits might be available when I started with the company. They did bend their parental care rules for me. Didn't apply to grandparents, but would have been good to ask. Right? I just had this happen to me. So I do a lot of pro bono work, and I had somebody who has an individual in their family that they care for in home, and it's a spouse's mother, and that out of pocket expense was going to be $12,000. So I helped them negotiate that into their salary band, because that is something that they did not offer, and it's a fair ask. It's a humanity issue to me, right? So I mean, if your company can't support it for whatever logistical reason, that's fine. But again, you asked.
Definitely. And, just on that same track, Mickey said they should be able to disclose the entire benefits and compensations package. And Linda said that I've had several companies not give me all of the benefits when I've asked for them multiple times. It's like pulling teeth sometimes, and I don't get it.
Yeah, that would be if you want to work there. I mean, if they can't give you what you need to be successful before you even get there, I would throw caution to that. That's my personal preference. That's where I sit in this chair. I think that it's the recruiting teams and talent acquisitions team to make sure they show up for that. And it's something that you need to make your decision, because what happens if, XYZ company, or me, say that company, I'm working with y'all, and you've got this company over here, and then you've got me, and I've given you everything. That's a better experience, isn't it? So if a company and the person who is representing the company at the forefront can't do that,
a couple more questions come in anonymously, but I had somebody on the line who actually wants to come off mute and ask a question. So
yes,
I know, we love it. So Usha, I hope that I'm pronouncing that correctly, but yes. I will pass the mic to you.
Yeah, sure. Hey, thank you so much. This is very useful, especially because my position has been impacted because of COVID, not because of performance, and I'm interviewing at multiple places, so very timely. Yeah. So my question is, how do you go about negotiating when your job has been impacted and you are eager to get your next job and you don't want to lose out any opportunity because of negotiating high? That fear is always there. That's one question. And the other part of my question is, have companies kind of reduced their salary bands during COVID, or is it the same?
So COVID is something that happened outside of anyone's control. Companies are either pulling back on hiring, but should never undercut a role that was slated for a certain level because of COVID. That is not a business practice I understand. Perhaps it's something that happens. I personally wouldn't touch that again with a 10-foot pole, because that doesn't feel good. I think the hard part about COVID is that we're going to start under-leveling ourselves because of need. Try not to do that. Your experience and what you've done and who you are as a human and your perspective that you bring to this team, or any team, is worth everything that you left. You should not take a pay cut if you can prevent it. I understand that that's, I'm sitting here with a job, and I understand that privilege. I do. I just don't believe that that would be something that someone would do to another human right now. And I would challenge that and ask them, is this due to COVID? Where do you see me? If I, how does this work? Just ask as many questions as you can to then figure out what your next question is, and then figure out your next question. So I think that worked with the first one. And then, I think the second part was about just negotiating and making sure that you can advocate for yourself and the fear around it, right, Usha?
Mm-hmm.
The most nerve-wracking thing is advocating for yourself, because I bet everyone on this team has advocated for everyone else on their team. All of your friends, all of your people, all of your children. And then you look at yourself and you're like, well, I'm not special. Yes, you are. You are as special as anyone else on that team. You are just as qualified. Your voice is just as loud. So use it. Use it to what you're comfortable with, but use it.
Mm-hmm.
You can be like me. I've been called the bull in the china closet. I'm the glass breaker, the problem, too loud, too much. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna be, because I'm gonna do it so everyone behind me can do it as well. I'm gonna put my neck out, and if you don't like it, it means you need to change, or you need to see a different way, or at least understand why it's coming at you like this. Now, anger's different than passion and knowledge, right? If you come in saying, I just need more information, and ask questions, lead with questions. I just need to understand what I'm up against. I just need to understand what I'm being asked to do. I just need to understand. And if they can't, that's showing, the org is showing you who they are.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming off mute.
Yes, I love it. And Mickey, I saw that you had taken yourself off of mute, and I've seen you chiming in a lot. So I don't want to put you on the spot, but I wanted to see if you wanted to chime in.
Please do.
Yeah, so I actually, my comment on that is, COVID is a very hard time for everybody. And I agree with Sydney that I don't believe that companies are undercutting salaries. That creates a whole other obstacle for them after COVID that they have to somehow come and course correct on. And so companies typically won't do that. That's too much effort for them after the fact. Here's my personal suggestion. I work in TA compliance. I have my own consulting business. And so, I've seen a lot of things happen at a lot of different companies. And here's, this is an environment that we've never really experienced before. And, there are going to be situations, Usha, I know you mentioned, like, how do you not undersell yourself or take a position that, this sounds horrible, but don't be afraid to take a position that's maybe a step down for the time being if you need the money. Like if it's about, I don't have any other options and I really need to get back to work, but don't let that stop you from continuing to look for the next thing. Like, I would never tell someone not to, in a time of economic downturn or something like this, not to take something to, cover the bills, because you need that. But at the same time, being very clear about what your value is. Yep. Like knowing what your value is and saying, here's what I'm bringing, and I would like the opportunity for something better, if something, with more experience needed or whatever, if it comes along, but keep yourself open to going somewhere else.
Yeah, and that's okay as well, right? But, it's okay to look for a job while you have a job.
I think
even if it's in the short term.
Now, advice that I give right now, as opposed to, when the market is good, right? I would give different advice now on like selling yourself. But even I myself in my consulting business have thought, like, do I discount my rate now to help some companies through this because they might need it? Or do I keep my rate at what it is because am I selling myself short for the future? And, and I think all of us think about those things, right? And so I think if it's needed, you could take a temporary step down into, you know, maybe a lesser position than you have today or you had before if it's needed, but don't sell yourself short. Know you're worth more than that and continue to look for opportunities to bring yourself back to where you were before and to continue to grow.
Thank you so much, Mickey, and thank you so much, Sydney. We have so many questions coming in the chat. So, you know, if anyone wants to ask a question, please feel free to hit the raise your hand function, and I would love for you to come off of mute. I did see that there was a question about student loans, and the person asked, what about if we have a $1,500 a month student loan payment? Should we mention that and ask for a salary boost to help cover it? And I think this applies to a lot of things in your life that you might need extra compensation for.
It's fair game. I don't think that you need to disclose what it's for, because then that makes it, oh, well, they don't really need that. You say, I have an expense that I need that's $1,500 a month that I need to be covered and compensated for. Again, the way that I see it is that females and underrepresented minorities, and I've seen it, I've heard it, I've managed it, right? Just won't ask. And then they get, you know, like, it's super fair game to ask for all these things. You know, and as soon as you start giving reasons why you need something, that's why when you ask for something, you just need to stop and just sit until they answer you. And that's, I mean, some of you might think, oh, well, that's great for you because, you know, of all the things that you've experienced. But in my pro bono work and with all the females that I've negotiated 10 offers in the last 2 months and rendered over $70,000 more on an offer package for these women, knowing what I know, by them asking for what they want and not giving any reason for them to be walked back. So if y'all can advocate for yourself and not walk it back as the reasons why maybe you think you should be able to do it, just try and hold. Stand in your power, because you have it. And someone doesn't get to take it from you anymore. This is literally, if you walk away from this conversation, I mean, it could be about this and TA and legal and this, that. No, don't let anybody take your power. Do not let them do it. If that's the one thing you take away from here, is you are valued, your voice should be heard, you should ask for all the things that you need because you deserve it. And if you need to call me every day for me to tell you that and make that your mantra, you will get what you need. It's really, really hard. And I'm not sitting here saying, oh yeah, you can just do it. No, it's hard. First of all, I have the worst imposter syndrome known to man. Let's just talk about it. I'm like just waiting for y'all to figure out that I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, right? On this end, I'm like, why am I even here? Like, nobody wants to hear from me. I'm hiding. This is hard for me too. But honestly, I want you all to know that this is the problem. Like, we've been silenced for too long. No matter who you are, you could be male, female, they, them. Honestly, no one gets to take your voice anymore. If you have needs, think of it like anything else. You are entering into a long-term relationship with this company. You sure as you know what are going to make sure that when you enter into a partnership or having significant others, children, these things, you're going to have that stuff locked down. Why not here? Finding a new job and negotiating a salary for yourself is just like any relationship that you have entered into for a long term. Maybe it's short term, whatever. But you better know, just like how you are as a human, is this going to be where I'm taken care of? Is this where I'm going to feel safe? Is this where I'm going to be valued? Is this where I'm going to be loved, heard? All these things. Do I get the, the warm fuzzies when I get out of bed? This is what you need to understand. Ask, advocate, stand up, Find something that pissed you off along the way and use that to fire you. In these negotiations, not being rude, not being mean, not being angry, but hey, you want me? You got some questions to answer. You need to make me feel secure and safe about what I'm about to do here. Because there's that as well, right? This isn't just about salary negotiation. This is about security and safety for all within an organization as well. Okay, so.
I love it. And I know, thank you so much. I love this conversation. I wish we could go on so much longer. Natalie, I know that you had something you wanted to share, so please feel free. Oh, we can't hear you. But I know we have just a couple minutes, and then, I wanted to go to the open positions while Natalie's figuring out the audio. I'm just going to go to the last slide where we talk about that Packet is hiring. I can't hear you, Natalie. I'm so sorry. But while you figure that out, I'm going to pass it over to Sidney. So Sidney, let us know, what positions is Packet hiring for? What's your favorite thing about working at Packet? And do you have any tips for anybody who's interviewing or applying for Packet?
Right. So yes, we have a lot of open roles. I will tell you that Packet is committed to a diverse and inclusive hiring practice. That is something I have taken charge on. So inclusion is at the forefront of everything that we do here. It's much different than anything that you will encounter. We have our teams are diverse. We're still a small entity. We did just go through an acquisition with Equinix, but we're not in direct competition with Equinix, which is great, okay? So Equinix is, Packet is Packet, Equinix, I mean, we're all over. But so we have a lot of opportunity. And then even within, I can facilitate introductions over to Equinix as well. I'm happy to do those all day long because I will advocate for you within the process. As soon as you get through the door and I remove all the barriers for you to have the conversations, it's up to y'all to, have those conversations, move through the process and all of that. I don't want to just say that there's only one or two. There's a lot. We need leaders. We need powerful, amazing, strong leaders that have a diverse voice, a different perspective, because we don't just build cookie cutter teams here at Packet. What we do is we puzzle piece people together, because if you look at a puzzle, everything's different, but as soon as you lock it together, you get this amazing picture, right? Everyone has a different strength. Everybody has a different perspective. You could be from, I have this great example of the continent of Africa. There was a company I worked at that had an amazing platform and just was purchased for a large sum of money, where folks in Africa were using it to find general services. Where is clean water? Where can I find a generator? And here we are in San Francisco saying, well, this is great for version control software. Perfect, awesome. However, what about our folks in that region that are using it for basic services? So here at Packet, it's not the same. It's not, because then you don't get a diverse culture, you don't get diverse perspective, you don't get innovation. So I will tell you that you'll have a very cool experience, because I'm part of it, and it has nothing to do with me personally, but I know how it's being put together and how inclusive it is. My favorite part about working at Packet is that I'm valued. Plain and simple. I worked at a lot of companies, in a lot of places. Is Natalie on?
Okay. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay. Sorry, guys.
Never apologize. That's another thing. Stop
apologizing.
apologizing.
Yeah, never say sorry. I'm sorry.
Remember, Natalie, never say sorry.
Okay, so real quick, I know we're running out of time, but I just wanted to give a shout out to Sidney. I guess I'm living proof of everything that she's talking about, because I was in a role that I was, yes, I'm here to serve you, never spoke up. It wasn't about me. I had nobody to be an advocate for myself until I met Sidney. So her and I worked together back in 2015, and she helped me get out of a role that I was stuck and move into a technology role, which has now I don't want to say career has taken off, just because.
Yes, it has.
Okay, it has,
Thank
but I've had many opportunities open up ever since I met Sidney to say, speak for yourself, ask questions, don't take no for an answer, and keep on fighting for yourself. You have a voice, especially as a minority woman. I think that is huge for me. And so I just wanted to thank her, but everything she's telling you is basically true because I'm living proof. So, don't cry.
Thank you for that. I did not even know you were going to be here. This is so crazy. Amazing.
Oh,
I love you.
I wanted to surprise you, but anyway, so yeah, I guess to ditto everything that Sydney's about, but it's just, it's a lot. So keep on
Thank
pushing.
you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Maybe my imposters will go away for 7.5 minutes now.
Okay, good.
Thank you so much, Natalie, for sharing that. That was really so nice. And there's tons of people saying in the chat, this has been such an awesome conversation. I can echo that completely. Like, this has really been just so nice. And, you know, it's all thanks to you for all coming offline or all coming off mute and asking questions, and also to Sidney for facilitating this kind of environment. So thank you to you. And, you know, we have 2 more minutes left, and I really want to get to your tips about applying for jobs and interviewing, not only with Packet, but in general, because I feel like you just are such a wealth of knowledge and you are just such a hype woman. I'm feeling so excited just from the chat.
Just don't give up on yourself. Don't do it. Don't take no for an answer if you really want it. Find other ways. Call me, I'll help you. Honestly, anyone can contact me and you will all get 30 minutes. Every single person who needs help, pro bono, I do this work because it's that important. So my LinkedIn's here. If you want to connect with me on your specific situation, you need help negotiating yourself for yourself, I am honored to do that, and absolutely will not do anything except for ask you to be kind. Okay.
Thank you so much. And people are loving that you said that. And I love that you said that.
Are
so
we supposed to move forward if we don't help each other?
It's true.
Right?
It's true.
Why are we not supporting other people that need help? It's free.
Yep.
So let
It's
me
so
help
true.
you.
Yes. Andrea
That
said this has
part.
been like a pep rally. Yes. Yes. I am so happy you're feeling that. Yes. I am feeling that. And I'm feeling energized. Yes, Christina. Thank you to everyone. And I just want to, I dropped the link in there again to follow Packet and follow them on the PowerToFly page. Sorry, I'm all flustered now, like good flustered.
Power! I love it!
I got,
Woo!
yes.
Yes.
So go ahead and follow them. Connect with Sidney, and I dropped her LinkedIn in there. So I just want to say thank you to you, Sidney, for such an awesome chat. So engaging, it's so energizing, like Carol said. And thank you to everyone who joined for, you know, being here and supporting Packet, PowerToFly, and Sidney. And I love to have you all on. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And Mickey, thank you for chiming in on places that I have, you know, like I said, we're all in this together, right? That was wonderful. Thank you for coming and seeing and all these wonderful things.
Yes. So
Super
I hope
awesome.
you all have a safe and wonderful day. Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.
Bye, Natalie.